Is Joseph Hiron, and I'm going to be giving a speech on being an effective supervisor. The purpose of this speech is to inform the audience on the process of being an effective supervisor. An effective leader must be like water, be able to empty their mind, be formless, shapeless, like water. If you put water into a cup, the, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now, water can flow or it can crash. An effective leader must be like water. An effective leader must learn to be a jack of all trades, a kind of Swiss Army knife for the office. I'm currently a senior administrator at the city of Los Angeles. I've had to supervise as many as 60 people at once, and and have had instances where I've had to deal with many different personalities and situations. I will describe some challenges that your average supervisor may face on a daily basis and the steps that supervisors can take to navigate through different situations. This will include setting an example, being a motivator, and being an overall buffer between management and street level workers. As a supervisor, showing accountability is key. It often is something that is overlooked, but holding yourself accountable is very important. This can be achieved by setting the example. Setting by setting an example or leading by example helps you gain the trust of your team. It, it inspires them as well as motivates them. And this is essential for a supervisor to exemplify this skill. Setting the right example can allow their team members to have trust in their supervisor and help them accomplish their task. Having a reliable supervisor allows your team to place their trust in you and rely on you when specific expertise is needed to complete a job. Doing things correctly can allow workers to know that they can rely on you in order to get things done. Another part of setting an example is taking blame and also giving credit where it's due. When a success occurs or a task is accomplished, it's important for a supervisor to reiterate that task is accomplished or give praise to the employee who was able to accomplish the task. This shows a great deal of leadership and also is a way for the supervisor to share in the office camaraderie. Sometimes teams not only need a leader to help, they also need someone who will motivate them. Being a motivator, being a motivator as a supervisor can be a trying task. To be a leader, you should motivate. Motivation is a necessary factor in day-to-day operations. If an employee fails to do a job or lacks motivation, a, a leader will help them with their work and guide them. A manager typically will tell an employee to do a task, but a leader will do the task with the employee and supervise it. As a motivator, you must be a inspiration to others. Employees will often seek guidance or they will look to their supervisor as an example. Setting the right example for your employees helps them do the job more efficiently, as well as ensures that they'll feel safer knowing that you have the knowledge to help. As a motivator, you must be able to acknowledge failure, your failure as a supervisor or others' failure, and acknowledge that it could be fixed. Being a supervisor, some employees may be afraid to make mistakes, and it's important that a supervisor would let those person know that mistakes happen. It's all about how those mistakes are corrected. As a leader, it may be difficult to deal with upper level management and the people whose policies affect the most. However, accomplishing this task is essential to being a good supervisor. Being a buffer between management and ground level workers is essential as a supervisor. It's important to make sure that your employees' concerns are heard out and that changes can be made in order to address larger issues that may make the job easier to do. It is important for a supervisor to be empathetic and express concern for employees and their situations. Hear people out and make sure that they know you are there for them as needed. A good supervisor will listen and communicate well. Effective supervisors communicate and interact with their employees frequently and professionally. They keep a pulse on their employees. Similarly, great supervisors are attentive and listen closely to the needs of the office. To conclude, I've described some challenges that a supervisor or manager may face on a regular basis, along with steps that supervisors should take to navigate different situations. This includes setting an example, being a motivator, being a buffer between management and street level workers. Supervisors' jobs are never easy, but navigating them correctly can make for some of the best workplace experiences. A great supervisor will set the example, be a motivator, and also be a buffer between management and street level employees. This may seem easy when said aloud, but the reality is it's difficult for most to navigate. I've given some insight on what it may take to become a supervisor, at least an effective supervisor, and what techniques could be useful. An effective leader is much more than just a supervisor, and a manager is much more than just a supervisor. A manager will tell employees what to do, but a leader will make sure that the work is done while supervising it. Start thinking about ways things function around your office. Many often criticize decisions, how decisions are made without thinking of the thought process that goes into the decision being made. When a supervisor makes a decision, it's important to ask yourself if that could have been done differently, or if the solution was the only one given at the time. Thank you.